So we are reading Liquid Luck by Joe Gallenberg. We are on page 10 of chapter 1 of the book. And
page 31 of the PDF.
Okay.
Someone has put up the hand.
Yes. Okay, it's gone. Okay, go ahead.
Happy to be here means happy to be in this relationship, this job, this community, this neighborhood, and this home. Unhappiness can be an insistent and persistent guidance that you need to change attitude, perspective, or circumstance. And finally, happy to be here means happy to be experiencing exactly what you are experiencing in this sacred moment.
So being in the moment, enjoying whatever is happening in the moment. And let me tell you, I'm seeing over and over again, if something is pulling you down, you shift your perspective about it. Find something to appreciate about that particular situation or that particular happening or that particular relationship. And automatically you'll shift to the right side of the grid and you will find happiness in whatever is happening, right? So see, happiness we need to keep in our own hand. If we give it in someone else's hand, then we are creating a problem for ourselves.
Wow, that is a lot to happiness to keep track of. In the liquid luck meditation, you are guided just for the meditation time at least and hopefully longer to be happy as you create a powerful abundance too. The good news is that happiness is really not so much about having everything in all areas of life going the way you think they should and having every material thing that you can dream of. Rather, it is an attitude about life, other people, and yourself that allows happiness and peace amidst whatever is going on in your life. Let's see how this can be accomplished and more about the power of happiness.
So over here, he says very clearly, it's rather the attitude about life. Okay. So again, I think I've shared this story before, but I used to park my car and then I used to walk on the footpath going to my office. And let me tell you, in front of me, I've seen the birthing of a child, of course, not the physical birthing, but the small child suddenly appearing over there in those people who were living on the street. And I've actually noticed and seen that boy or girl grow up, because every time I used to walk that lane twice a day or thrice a day or 4 times a day. And every time I used to see those kids. Now, those kids were living on the street. They were living on the footpath. They literally had no kind of material possessions. But I always used to see them happy playing around and having a great time, right? Now, it's an attitude. Someone may live in a palace and have everything, but yet be sad. And someone may live in the footpath, the example I just gave you, and still be happy with whatever they have, right? So again, happiness is an attitude. It is not something which is dependent on any kind of material possessions or physical possessions or even relationships, right? You have to find happiness within yourself.
Of course, we are not talking about a stiff upper lip kind of false happiness. That just won't cut it for powerfully creating your dreams. Rather, we are aiming for a genuine joy of life, a real joie de vivre, the French expression meaning a cheerful enjoyment of life, an exaltation of spirit. Joie de vivre may be seen as a joy of everything, a comprehensive joy, a philosophy of life. Proponents of self actualization, such as Abraham Maslow or Carl Rogers, saw happiness as one of the byproducts of the rediscovery of what the latter called the quiet joy in being one's self, a spontaneous, relaxed enjoyment, a sense of play, and of access to the true self.
So an inner connection to your true self, right? A sense of play. What we always keep saying in awareness also, let's play the game that we are playing. So if you treat life as a game, then you win some, you lose some, but you're happy in losing and you're happy in winning, right? You need to be relaxed and spontaneous. Spontaneity means what? Whatever the universe is throwing up, you do it. What is that? Swata, right? If you are not spontaneous, if you're not doing new things all the time, if you're not constantly growing, right? You're not really enjoying what you're doing, then you're really not living. So over here, he says over here very clearly, not the intellectual kind of joy. I have acquired something, and then I say intellectually, because I have acquired it, I find joy. You'll find that that joy will fade away after some time. But if you are really like a child and you really observe what is happening, you embrace what is happening around you, you embrace all the things that are coming in your life, then automatically you are operating from the heart, right? So that is where the real joy is, that inner joy. That is what we are looking for. We are not looking for the intellectual joy. We're not looking for the joy that this guy gives us. We're looking for the joy that this guy gives us, right? Operating from your true self. That is when you find real joy.
The even better news is that you don't have to be perfect in this for it to work very well. It is more of a continuum. If you are 90% happy in any or all areas of life, that is extremely powerful. The more areas, the better. If you are now 50% happy, you can indeed learn to cultivate happiness. And as you move towards a greater percent happy, you will notice immediate improvement in your manifestation power.
So, what do we say? If you're on the left side of the grid, then you're depleted. If you're on the right side of the grid, you are uplifted. Now, to manifest, we need energy, right? So if I'm feeling depleted, how can I manifest? I need energy to manifest. So until I'm in that buoyant spirit, until I'm in that buoyant state of consciousness, in that buoyant state of mind, manifestation will never take place. And the more buoyant you are, the more expecting you are, the more in tune with your inner self and the universal consciousness you are, the better your manifestation skills will automatically become. So over here it says you will notice immediate improvement in your manifestation power. So I'm saying is, and more I'm seeing with people, the more you're on the right side of the grid, okay, the better off you are in all areas of your life. So we need to cultivate that awareness that what is putting us on the left side, and then put a strategy in place which will allow us to shift from the left side to the right side of the grid. Now, all the tools that we learn in the excursion workshop, in the resilience advantage workshop, in the Vastu workshop, and so many other processes that we've talked about and learned, they are all tools to be able to shift us. But the awareness will come that yes, I have to accept, right, that I am in a depleting state, and then I have to use the strategies which I have from my toolbox to be able to get out of that funky downward spiral that many of us get stuck with, right? We need to shift from the left to the right.
Happiness is so important that the right of everyone to pursue happiness is a sacred clause in the United States Declaration of Independence. Yet, I am fairly dismayed as a psychologist that so much of the profession's time has been wrapped up in understanding dysfunction and depression in its many forms. Fortunately, there is a fairly new movement within psychology called positive psychology, which is beginning to look at happiness and thriving and how these occur, sometimes even in very unideal circumstances. An excellent book on this is Martin Seligman's Authentic Happiness, written in 2002, which followed his bestseller, Learned Optimism.
So in spite of it being in the Declaration of Independence, the one of the most used drugs in the United States is drugs which are related to depression, right? So what does that imply? People are really not happy. That's why you're on the left side of the grid, you're getting depressed. So the attitude with which you live your life is so important. You may have everything, But if you don't appreciate it, you will never be happy. So the point is to start really appreciating what we have in our life, count our blessings. Most of the time, our focus of attention is on what we don't have, which leads to this depressive kind of a tendency.
One interesting study that Seligman mentions is a longitudinal study following nuns before their taking vows in 1932 throughout the next 6 decades of their lives. The advantage here is that all 178 nuns were experiencing essentially the same lifestyle, diet, social class, access to medical care, etc. Yet there was still much variation in health and longevity. Using the admissions easy written when they joined the order, the study found that of those nuns writing the most cheerful essays at that time, 90% were alive at 85 versus only 34% of the least cheerful essay writers, and 54% were still alive at 94 versus only 11% of the least happy as judged by that initial essay.
So, what does this imply? What does this imply? The happier we are, the better our bodies function, the better our lives function, the better everything around us functions. Now, let us say you are in the company of a grumpy fellow. What is your state of mind? And you are in the company of a very joyful fellow, an uplifting fellow, right? What is your state of mind? So the point is, and it is said, right, that you can judge the nature of a person by that person's five best friends, because that person's attitude will be a combination of those five people. So what is your attitude? What is the frequency that you are operating at? Actually is the is the base or is the foundation of how you will be living your life. So if you are happy, you will live better. If you are always depressed and always criticizing, you are creating a problem for yourself. It's very, very simple and straight.
An even simpler indicator in another study concluded that women who had a genuine smile in their college graduation picture were more likely to experience personal well being over the next 30 years versus those who had an inauthentic smile. Scientists can tell the difference in smiles because different muscles are moved in a genuine smile. Psychologists also find that events and things can produce happiness, but it is often fleeting. Their studies indicate that enduring happiness is based more on values and character strengths.
Okay, 1 second, Shivanya. Okay, so now it has been said that the number of muscles used in the face to make a angry face or a grimacking face are more than the ones used for creating a smile. Now, if you're forcing a smile, then you're going to be using more muscles than when you are just genuinely smiling, right? So, genuine smiling is effortless, whereas any other kind of a face you made is effortful. Okay, so very clearly it says over here that if I mean technically if you're using more effort, the more depleted you're becoming. So being in that uplifting attitude becomes so important because you really consume less energy, so you have more energy to do other things like healing the body, repair and maintenance, learning, growing, caring, loving. You have so much more energy to do everything else.
Valuing behaviors such as forgiving and forgetting and love and kindness encourages happiness. Cultivating strengths such as wisdom, curiosity, open mindedness, integrity, and courage also tend to produce long term happiness. I talked to a $21 million lottery winner, and she said that for 3 months she and her partner were on cloud nine. Then things began to settle down and normalize. They love having the money and the things they can do with it for their family and causes. Yet, Most of the issues that were there before the windfall remain to be dealt with.
Right. So now if you see, Shimangla, you have to unmute. So if you see valuing behavior such as forgiving, forgetting, love, kindness, encourage happiness. So if you see, when we saw the scale of consciousness the other day, I'll just pull it up again. 1 second. I think I'll have to keep it on front. Just 1 second, just hold on, please. Sorry. Okay, I've lost it. I'll find it again and I'll post it. But basically, what I'm getting at is that anything below 200 was depleting. Anything above 200 was uplifting. And if you see love, forgiving, kindness, all these things were above 200. Okay. Cultivating strength as wisdom, curiosity, open mindedness, integrity, courage also produced long term happiness. So the idea here is that we need to be above 200 on that level of consciousness, in the scales of consciousness. And also, we need to be on the right side of the grid. If you see that scale of consciousness, everything that is below 200 is on the left side of the resilience grid, and everything above 200 is on the right side of the resilience grid. And over here, very clearly it states this person won a lot of money, but the problems that they were facing remained. So the money is not something that can get rid of your problems. You have to internally get rid of your issues and problems, because most of your issues and problems come from a state of mind. It does not come from your material possessions.
While it is very helpful to have major sources of stress such as conflict, joblessness, and disease under control, that tends to produce more of a sense of safety and peace. True joy is only loosely associated with material wealth. In fact, there are many countries where people report being happier than those living in the USA, with much less income at their disposal.
Right. So again, money is not a equivalent of your happiness. Your happiness is dependent on what is inside. Okay, I found the thing. I'll just show that screen to you. Shivangla, I'm stopping your sharing once. You'll have to share it. So can you all see the screen now? Okay, I'll post it on the group also. But levels of consciousness, right? So over here in the last paragraph, they said forgiving, forgetting. So acceptance, when you forgive someone, you're in acceptance, right? You've forgiven that person. When you're willing to do something, over here, open-minded, integrity, courage, wisdom, curiosity. Curiosity what? It's willingness to do certain things, to try new things, to always be looking out for what is good rather than what is bad. Okay. So again, wealth is not something that can be equated with happiness. Wealth is not something that you can equate with happiness. Is everyone clear with that? I hope.
Yes.
Okay. I think this is something that we all need to look at, this map of consciousness.
Bhaiya, what are the different headings of it? What do they
Okay.
explain?
What do you mean, the different headings? 1 second, I'll have to pull it back again.
Yeah, Niket, on the top there were different sections that it said
Yeah.
something.
Yeah,
I
but
think they
what
was
we are
doing
looking
that.
at is the two main sections. Like
Yeah,
over
but-
here, it says God view, life view. What we are looking at is the level
Yeah.
and the log. These two things are the most important. Now, if you want to get into the information, you want to get into the process to get deeper into it,
Mhm.
look at it and tell us what you feel. Okay.
Yeah.
How it is working for you. I've really not paid too much of attention to the other stuff. Maybe over here, I've paid a little bit of attention to the emotions, but I've not really paid attention to the other stuff. Okay. But the fact is that we can dwell into it and we can work more with it. And what do we think about it can become very, very important. 1 second, I forgot to share it. So over here it says God view, life view, the life, the log, emotion, and process. I basically have been looking at these two only, the level of consciousness, the numbers, and what is this level defining. These are the two things. Okay. But these things are also important. You can look at it and work on it, right? From where are you coming? What is happening in your life? Yeah, someone was saying something.
Yeah. Who has given it these calls? I mean,
This is from the book Power versus Force by David Hawkins.
yeah, but who gave the scores to these emotions?
Who gave you your name?
My parents.
Okay. Who gave your parents' name?
Their parents.
Who gave their name? Who named an apple? Chalo, let's put it that way. You don't know, right? So yeah, so what used to happen with Dr. David Hawkins, what I understand, he actually used to go into an altered state of mind, number one. And number two, he used to use something called the ring test, or he used to use muscle testing. You all know what muscle testing is? You all know what muscle testing is?
Yes.
No.
Okay, so people who've been with awareness for some time know what muscle testing is.
Yeah.
In muscle testing, you put your hand out and someone presses your hand down.
Down.
So anything that makes you strong will make your hand strong. Anything that makes you weak will put your hand down. The other way that you can do it is with the ring test. You keep your hand like this and then you put your thing here. If something is strong, you will not be able to take your hand out. The thing will not come. If something is making you weak, it will open. So you can actually test at the level of consciousness that you're operating it at using the ring test. Okay. So what is the level of your
Bhaiya?
consciousness?
Bhaiya, the log on the emotion and the level are more or less the same. Shame, humiliation. It's actually more or less the same. Only the emotion
Correct.
is
So this is the emotion attached to shame.
attached to this.
When you are operating at the level of shame, there is
you are
humiliation in your this thing. And
Yeah,
what is the process?
and then
You're being
guilt and
eliminated.
blame.
You're being
Yeah,
eliminated. So let's say you're in a group, right? You're being shamed. So you're being humiliated and you get eliminated also. And you will feel miserable, right?
Okay.
And you are despising the other guy when you're in shame.
Yeah, actually they all match.
Yeah, naturally. So these are
They all
different
match.
processes of the same kind of thing. But the level of consciousness is the main thing. These two is what you're basically looking at.
How do we measure this?
We have many ways of measuring. We can measure with the Lecker antenna. We can measure with the BG3 pendulum. We can measure with the ring test also. Okay, and you get pretty accurate results. So Dr. David Hawkins, what he said was that he actually did a lot of testing to come to these conclusions. So you can actually test what is the level of consciousness at which a book has been written. You can, it's a fantastic book. Maybe we'll take that up next. Let's see.
Niket, you remember one time in the club session, we did this testing and Pradeep ji was wanting something to manifest and he realized it himself, that he was operating at a lower level. Correct. So then he had to bring his energy up and remember that bit?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So let us say for something to manifest, you need to be operating at 300, but you are operating at 20. It is never going to manifest. It is impossible. So you can actually test that what is the level of consciousness required for something to manifest that you are wanting to manifest. And if you're not operating at that level of consciousness, it is not going to manifest. So you need to put strategies in place which will raise your level of consciousness to the level at which when you are intending something, it will manifest. So that's the beauty of going into these expanded states through the Monroe process, where you can actually hit those expanded states so a level of consciousness goes up, which can allow you to start manifesting in a more powerful and a much more, more powerful way, which was what was being said in the first paragraph that we read today, right? You have to be in that state of consciousness. And when you're in that state of consciousness, you'll find things start manifesting for you. Synchronicity starts coming into your life. But then that depends on your level of consciousness, right? So one of the states over there, I think it was 320, was willingness. How much are we willing to go with the flow? How much are we in acceptance? Most of the time we are rejecting things like, no, this is not good. This is not good. This is what I want. I don't want anything else. We are not accepting what the universe is giving to us. So we are going into fear. We are going into apathy. We are going into all those states of consciousness, which are not states of consciousness in which we can actually manifest things. Okay, so this becomes very important. To be able to manifest, we need to raise our level of consciousness. Today, these highly spiritual gurus and Mahatmas, if they said something, it used to manifest. Why? Because they were operating at such high frequencies of conscious awareness that the universe had to do their bidding. It was like tathastu. Something is not meant to happen, but they have said it. So the universe adheres to their shabd, to their vakya, to what they have said. Why? Because they are so much in tune with the universe that the universe has to listen to them. Okay, this becomes extremely powerful, this stuff.
A study from 2011 found that participants who were 95 and older lived no more virtuous lives than the general population when it came to healthy behaviors, meaning smoking, eating, and exercises habits. As I write this chapter, Dr. Alexander Imich, at 111 years old, has been crowned the world's oldest living man, according to Guinness World Records. His motto is that one should always pursue what one loves and is passionate about. I could not agree more.
So now what is he saying? He is exactly saying what Ikigai is saying, right? Now what does Ikigai say? Do what you love doing. Something that the world needs. You can be paid for it, right? And you are good at it. So if you're passionate about something and you keep practicing that particular thing, you are bound to become good at it. And since you're passionate about it, you love doing it, right? And most of the time, if you excel in doing something, you can be paid for it. Literally speaking, anything that you do and you do well, you can be paid for it. And let me tell you, when someone does something good, automatically the world will need it. So you will find your ikigai, right? So he says very clearly, always pursue what one loves and is passionate about. So all of us need to find our ikigais. This becomes very, very important. If we want to live well, we must enjoy what we do. We must love what we do. We must be passionate about what we do. Most of the time, we are doing stuff without a passion. Now, there are many things in life that you have to do, whether you like it or not. Yeah, you might as well start loving doing it. Yeah. Why? What is the use of cribbing and doing it? Rather, just enjoy doing it, love doing it. Shift your state of mind and consciousness. I know I have to do this. I might as well love doing it, right? And then the magic will start happening in your life. Most of the time, we are cribbing and criticizing all the time. Rather, be joyful about whatever the universe is giving to you to do, and be grateful that the universe is giving to you to do something. Most of the time, people are upset with what life throws at them, right? And then they get dejected, they get into depression. Again, coming back, one of the maximum used medication in, at least in US, is depression. Today, if you see young children over here, they are being given that drugs because of ADD, ADHD, right? The young children today are not being able to find passion. Why? Because the parents have not found their passion. How are they going to inculcate it in their children? So it becomes very important for us to really find what we are passionate about. It's not about the money. It is very simple. Do what you enjoy doing. Otherwise, don't do it. Very simple.
So what do we glean from all this? While there may be a natural range of happiness that varies from person to person, one can learn to live at the top of one's happiness range by cultivating certain beliefs, attitudes, behaviors, and experiences, many of which we will be talking about in this book, as they also enhance abundance, creation, and luck. Long term happiness is not likely to be achieved by acquiring of things, rather, it blossoms by achieving positive attitudes. To
So
shift beliefs,
this is very, very important, right? Most of the time, because we are so left brain oriented, we are going after material possessions. But if you really want long-term happiness, it's about learning, it's about growing, it's about doing new things, it's about experiencing new things, right? The experience of experiencing something is far more important than acquiring something which you at the end of the day will hardly use. And then there is a propensity curve. When you acquire that thing, you will use it a lot for some time, and after some time you'll find that it's stuck in the almirah doing nothing. But if you have experienced something, then that experience is going to stay with you throughout your life, and it is not going to fade. When you've had that aha moment, those are the events, those things which actually make your life. Towards the end of anyone's life, people start not, they're not attached to their possession. They will be attached to the memories, right? And so creating memories for ourselves is more important than creating possessions, because we are not going to take our possessions with us, but our memories we will take with us. Okay, so that becomes very, very important.
to shift beliefs that hamper happiness can be challenging. We are social creatures and live in a cultural context. When we look at Western culture, we see a very deep underpinning belief that happiness is suspect, that it is not genuine. Starting from the concept of original sin, it is suggested that we are intrinsically damaged and heaven is someplace else, which is strange in that even Christ was reported to have said that the kingdom of heaven is within. If religion portrays this planet as a vale of tears, it is then easy for other ideas to coalesce around this. Science concluded many years ago that the prime directive of nature is survival of the fittest, not the happiest. It is my opinion that Bruce Lipton in The Biology of Belief has disproven this tenet and provides good evidence that nature's prime directive is actually for the good of all.
So biology of belief, right? So it was first felt that we are preordained to be doing everything, right? We are stuck because of our DNA, because of our genes, and we cannot do anything differently. But in biology of belief, Bruce Lipton came out with the concept of epigenetics. That is, what is the effect of your environment and your state of mind on your well-being, your health, and what is happening around you, right? So very clearly, Bruce Lipton proved that working for yourself is not the highest goal. The highest goal is doing for each other. The more you do for everyone else, the more benefits and things will come to you. So again, in all religions, they keep saying, do unto others as you would want them to do unto you. We've seen this in Celestine prophecy, where when you give energy to someone, you get, and that person willingly gives you back the energy, you get out of the control dramas. And all control dramas at the end of the day are very, very depleting. Every control drama will put you on the left side of the grid, right? So that becomes extremely important, that we do for each other. The more you do, the more the universe will provide for you. The more you are hoarding, the less the universe will provide for you. The more you live in abundance, the more the universe will give to you. The more you live in misery, the more the misery the universe will provide for you. So whatever state of consciousness you are living in, that is what you will get. So if you're in the concept of giving, then the universe will also give you back. So very clearly he says, for the good of all.
This cultural pessimism is given voice in phrases such as waiting for the other shoe to fall. Be careful what you want, you just might get it. Nothing good comes easy. No pain, no gain. And many more sayings that suggest that happiness is not our natural state and can be fleeting and dangerous. In fact, the scientific study of the nuns, studies of who suffers from heart disease and survives, and many more studies show that happiness enhances our chances of a healthy, safe, and productive life. There is a field of medicine called psychoneuroimmunology that studies how hormones and health are affected by emotions. It too rates happiness as one of the best things one can experience to increase health. So go ahead, try it, be happy. Move away from no pain, no gain, and nothing good comes easy to a more open stance where you acknowledge the power and frequency of grace and blessings, and that it is okay for you to receive all good and to enjoy it thoroughly.
So the point is very clear, right? We do the Resilience Advantage program. In fact, we have one coming up in the weekend. I think it's on the 8th, if I'm not mistaken, or the 9th. Yeah, on the 2nd. On the 2nd, we have the Resilience Advantage program. In that program, we actually talk about the physiology of what happens to you when you are stressed. And then you learn a lot of tools which are very, very simple and very subtle, but extremely, extremely effective. I think there are many people here who attended the Resilience Advantage program, and I'm sure they will vouch that everyone should attend it, right? Because it allows you an understanding of what is happening physiologically, number one, and what you can do to take care of it, right? So over here it says that waiting for the other shoe to fall. Be careful what you want, you might get it. Nothing good comes easy. No pain, no gain, right? All these are depleting statements. When we are going into higher states of consciousness, we want to shift from effortfulness to effortlessness. That means everything is happening without your doing. A finely tuned car engine will not make a sound, but it will be extremely efficient, right? A thing that makes too much of noise, the engine is making a lot of noise, that means it is not tuned, right? So when you are making more effort, your productivity automatically will reduce. So we need to shift from effortfulness to effortlessness. It doesn't mean that you'll sit in the corner and not do anything. Of course, you will do your bit, right? But it will be effortless. You will be in a joyful state of consciousness when you're doing it, not in a depleting state of consciousness. So then that becomes extremely important, right? We trust in the gain. It says over here, to a more open stance where you acknowledge the power and frequency of grace and the blessings. So we must always be counting our blessings. We must be in appreciation. We must cultivate that joyful state of consciousness in ourselves.
Develop empowering, joyful attitudes and behaviors that leave room for you to see the goodness in yourself and others. and to celebrate and express that goodness. Replace seeking an eye for an eye justice with fostering mercy and forgiveness. Allow yourself to be optimistic and don't feel foolish for doing so.
So again, what are you looking for? I mean, you pay attention to yourself. What are your thoughts, right? Are you constantly finding faults with others? Or are you constantly looking for the good in others? If you are constantly looking for good in others, you'll constantly look at good in yourself. If you're constantly looking at fault in others, then you're constantly kicking yourself in the butt all the time. You're beating yourself down. And the more you beat yourself down, the more in depression you start getting. So the point is to become aware. What are you thinking? What is your thinking process? And then how to shift it.
Let go easily. When I find myself tempted to righteous indignation, feeling victimized and plotting revenge, I remember the saying, never attribute to malice what you can account for by stupidity. It is very rare that someone is actually out to get you, hold you down, or prevent your success. Usually, they are just not thinking of your needs and they are viewing the situation very differently. Opening communication with them can help with this, as most people would like to be helpful to you if they understand what you need and are treated in turn with respect.
So again, there was this very good book which was written by Dale Carnegie, How to Win Friends and Influence People. It was a book. My Mosaji gave me that book, I think it 1977, right? And at that time, it became a very important book in my life, where one of the tenets in that book is put yourself in the other guy's shoe. Okay. Now, if you are putting yourself in the other guy's shoe, that means you're looking at the thing that you are noticing, seeing it from the perspective of the other guy. And as soon as you start seeing things from the perspective of the other guy, your perspective about the whole thing it gets enhanced, right? So let's say you are looking at it only from your perspective. When you add the perspective of the other guy, now you're looking at it from here. So your view of the entire thing shifts. And once you start understanding why the other guy is doing something, then you can actually take care of it. The other thing that is there is to communicate. What we find a lot is that when we don't communicate, we assume things. Now, again, this is something, one of the tenets in the 4 agreements was, do not make assumptions. Most of the time we go into a tizzy because we start making assumptions that this guy must be thinking like this. And that is where the problem starts. Now, when you come in front of that guy, you are already saying you are thinking like this. Rather than really being open to listening, a very important part of communication is actually listening. But most of us think that communication is all about speaking. Let me tell you, 90% of communication is non-verbal, right? The way the body is, the way that you're looking, the eyes, the direction in which the eyes are looking, the expression related with the hands, the legs, the body posture, the tonnage which is there in the words that we are saying, and then listening. Listening is the most important part of communication, which most of us forget. So if you're not going to listen to the other guy's perspective, how are we going to shift our perspective? So listening becomes very important. And listening is one of the best ways in which you can open communication with another person.
It can be very helpful in moving away from the negativity and stress of our culture to surround yourself with optimistic, affirming, and happy people. There are several relatives and friends that I am blessed to know that just elevate my spirit every time I am with them. Take the time to be with these people, whoever they are in your life. Seek them out as a real treasure and begin to fade your time spent with those who judge, criticize, compete, and proclaim endlessly about all that is wrong with the world.
So again, as I said, if you see your top 5 friends, you can know what you are, right? Now, what we have found with people who attend the excursion workshop and in all the 6-day programs, since your frequency rises, the friends that you are associating with will automatically start to shift, because you will stop resonating with people who are operating at a lower frequency. So today, when people who are criticizing, who are competing, who are always in a depleting state, when you start focusing on getting into a higher state of consciousness, into a more evolved state of consciousness, you will automatically not evolve with them. You will not work with them. You will not be in their company. You will not like their company anymore. So that shift will automatically start taking place. Now, we can do this with awareness also. If we start noticing in our life people who are pulling us down, and notice in your life in whose company you actually evolve, you start growing, right? Those are the people that you need to consciously seek out, in whose company you need to start growing, who you start growing. That becomes extremely important. Okay, I think we need to operate our lives with awareness. Most of us are not even aware as to what is happening in our lives. The more conscious you become about what you're doing, what you're thinking, whose company are you in, what are you seeing, what are you doing, becomes so important in actually living a happy life. Yes, Sapna, can we have your video, please?
Actually, for friends, we have choice. But for relatives, we don't have this choice. If they judge, they compete, so then we have to accept that and we have to stay with them, right?
I do not totally agree with you. If you change your level of conscious awareness, you change your consciousness, you will find a shift coming in those relatives also. Are you getting what I'm saying?
Yeah, I agree.
Rather than putting the blame on the other guy, we are responsible for everything that is happening in our life, right? We need to take responsibility for what is happening in our life. Most of the time, we are blaming the other guy. But who can we change? What can we affect? We can only affect change within ourselves. So let us focus on changing our level of consciousness, the way that we are behaving, whether we are behaving in an uplifting way or not. How are we reacting? How are we responding? What are we saying? Are we aware of all that? So first start working on yourself before you start working on the other guy, because you cannot work on the other guy. You can only work on yourself. It's very simple. See, what I'm saying is what I'm experiencing myself. I'm not just saying it for the heck of saying it.
No, that's true. I totally agree with you. I'm saying that when you are saying that with friends, you stay with them where your
Sapna, I would like to see you right now. So we have a rule now in awareness. If you want to say something, you switch on your video. Yeah.
okay, fine.
Okay.
So
See, now you're much elder to me, so it should have been Sapna ji, not Sapna, right? So now, go ahead, tell me.
you can call me Sapna.
No, it's okay. Tell me.
So I was just saying, for friends, you have this choice. I totally agree with you that I raise my consciousness with the people around me. If I see they're less competent or judgmental or whatever. If I raise my consciousness, that helps a lot. I totally agree. But as you said, with friends, we have choice. I'm saying with relatives, we don't have that choice. We have to be with them, with their consciousness, with that level of, thinking and whatever.
So then you need to move into acceptance, right?
Sorry?
You need to move into acceptance. You need to accept that they're like that.
Yes.
And then operate your life at a higher level of consciousness.
Yes.
So the moment you start moving into acceptance, if you see in the level of consciousness, 1 second, let me pull that chart up again. I have to save this outside. So Can you all see the chart? Now, when I move into acceptance, what level of consciousness I'm operating at? 350. Are you getting that? Now, if you are not in acceptance, when you are associating with that particular relative of yours, what is the level of consciousness that you are operating in? Is it anger? Is it pride? Is it apathy? Where are you operating when you're connecting with that particular relative of yours?
And I see that the emotion is also very well written. When you're doing it in acceptance, you're in forgiveness, is the emotion.
Are you getting what I'm saying, Sapna ji?
Yes, totally.
So we cannot make the other guy shift, right? We need to see where we are operating from. And that is the most important thing. Because your happiness is in your hand, right? It's not, if you're putting your happiness in the other guy's hand, then you're operating at a lower level of consciousness. So the trick in this, according to me, is to get into acceptance. Okay. Yes, Shobha Bhabi, you're saying something?
Yeah, I would like to share something, Niket. You
go ahead.
very rightly said about communication, acceptance. And then I just want to mention a very small incident, which Sapna ji, you'll also, I think, it make it more clear. Last, few days, my husband was very irritable with me. So I was wondering, I said, ab main kya karu and all. So then I asked him, I found a good time when I felt I can communicate, I can talk to him. So I asked him, I said, why are you getting irritated with me? What is the reason? So then he explained to me, see, I'm not irritated with you. I have, this problem, which I'm having, I'm facing and I'm dealing with it. So it's just that it comes out in that way, but I don't mean to be irritated with you. So, it was like, because, and there was, like you said, there was a basic, something which held me, which did not make me react at every instance. I kept my cool and I found a good time to talk to him.
Yeah.
So then he explained this to me, then I understood it. And then, it was okay. Even if he's upset, it doesn't matter. You understand, okay, there's some other reason.
Exactly.
So, and the one you mentioned, see, it's not only what the friends and relatives, it's what the company doesn't mean people. It's also like, suppose you're doing book reading or you are doing good things which help you elevate your consciousness. So that's what helps you a lot. You are right, we cannot choose certain things, but these things help us retain our inner calm and help us deal with situations and be more loving and accepting. This is what
Beautiful.
I want to say.
Wonderfully put, Bhabi. So you're really inculcating and ingraining what we are talking about here. I'm so happy to see that and hear that. Shivangla, I think we can stop here. Okay, anyone wants to say anything or share anything? Kavita Didi, your hand was up. I'm sorry I couldn't get to you.
You can stop the recording.